Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to witness the quiet birthday that changes everything when Tuna whispers, "Today is Henry's birthday," and Alex realizes this simple day matters more than any boardroom victory. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Morning light filtered through the leaves and scattered pale gold across the small garden, turning the weathered wooden felt to something almost gentle. Tuna stood beside it with baby Henry in her arms, rocking him in slow circles while he babbled to the birds as if they were old friends. The wind moved softly through the branches, and for a moment, the world felt quiet enough to hear Henry's tiny breaths between his giggles. Alex stepped out from the porch. His tie was loosened, sleeves rolled up, and the hard edges he carried in the city weren't showing today. He looked like a man who'd been peeled out of his usual armor and left in a simpler place, unsure where to put his hands. Tuna lifted her gaze and met his eyes. A small smile appeared, not flashy, just honest. And when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of months counted in silence. "Today is Henry's birthday." The words landed like early dew. Alex froze mid-step, blinking as if his mind needed a second to catch up. He looked at Henry's rosy cheeks, a mouth working on a half laugh, small hands reaching forward then back to Tuna. A real smile spread across Alex's face. Not the practiced boardroom one, but something warm and unguarded that trembled at the corners. "For real?" he asked, softer than usual. Tuna nodded. Her throat tightened, but she kept smiling. She had been holding this date inside her like a secret candle, afraid it would burn out alone. Alex crossed the yard and brushed her shoulder lightly, a silent message that he was here, completely here. Henry giggled and caught Alex's finger, gripping it with surprising strength. That tiny hold pulled something tight in Alex's chest. In the ordinary garden, under ordinary light, a promise took root without being spoken. Today would matter. Tuna set Henry into a small wooden chair with a cushion and placed soft fabric toys within reach. Henry grabbed one and shook it proudly, then laughed at his own success. Tuna turned back to Alex, and the hope in her eyes was mixed with a flicker of nervousness, as if she didn't want to ask for too much. "Let's go to the market," she said. "Fresh chicken and pork. Just a small party for Henry." Alex didn't answer immediately. He bent to look at Henry grinning up at him, then looked back at Tuna. Something shifted behind his eyes. The man used to high-stakes calls was becoming the man who wanted to belong in this exact moment. He nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "We'll go now." Relief washed through Tuna, warm as sunlight. She grabbed an old canvas bag, checked her purse, then asked the question that used to feel risky. "Will you push the stroller?" Alex reached for the handle without hesitation, grip firm and natural, as if his body already knew what to do. They stepped out through the garden gate. Tuna walked beside him, and Henry giggled each time the wheels bumped over a pebble. Alex glanced at Tuna and saw her eyes bright, not for the food, but for what the day meant. He felt an invisible thread tighten between the three of them with every step. The narrow village path was still veiled in thin morning mist, flanked by swaying bamboo. The wheels creaked softly over packed earth. Tuna's hand rested lightly on the stroller's edge, and she bent now and then to adjust Henry's blanket, to shield him from a stray beam of sun, to make sure he was comfortable. Alex pushed unhurriedly, as if he wanted to stretch this walk longer, to keep the quiet intact. They spoke little. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was warm, filled with things that didn't need words. Tuna glanced at Alex and saw the corners of his eyes soften every time Henry babbled. For the first time, she could say it clearly to herself. He wasn't here out of obligation. He wanted to be here. A gentle wind carried the scent of damp soil and early frangipani. Tuna breathed in and felt something loosen in her chest. She remembered mornings when she'd pushed a stroller alone, scanning the road with worry, telling herself not to expect help. Today felt different. Alex's presence wasn't a shadow behind her. It was a steady shape beside her. Alex sensed her gaze. He didn't turn. He simply tightened his grip on the stroller handle for a second, a quiet declaration. "I'm not leaving." Henry reached out, tiny fingers tapping Tuna's hand, then Alex's, stitching 3 heartbeats together along the long road. The market buzzed before they reached the center. Voices rose and fell, sellers calling out prices, buyers laughing and bargaining. The air was thick with fresh fish, herbs, ripe fruit, and charcoal smoke. Tuna led the way, canvas bag on her shoulder, scanning stalls with quiet purpose. Alex followed, pushing the stroller, tall enough to part the crowd, yet today he blended into the rhythm instead of towering above it. Henry sat wide-eyed, watching clucking hens, waving his hands as if he wanted to touch everything at once. Tuna paused at the poultry stall and examined a plump, golden-feathered hen. The vendor leaned forward, grinning. "Take this one, Sister Fresh," he said. Tuna nodded, eyes sparkling. She turned to Alex. "What do you think?" Alex stepped closer, leaned down, studied the hen as carefully as he'd study a contract, then nodded. "Good. This one's good." His voice was low and warm, stripped of command, the voice of a man learning to take part in small things. They moved to the pork stall. Tuna pointed to a rosy shoulder cut, asked the price, bargained gently. Alex stood beside her with one hand on the stroller, but his gaze kept returning to Tuna's face. He saw confidence there, a glow that didn't exist on the days she carried everything alone. When the vendor wrapped the meat, Tuna reached for it as Alex handed over the money. Their fingers brushed brief, accidental contact that stopped them for one heartbeat. Then Henry burst into laughter, bright and sudden, as if he sensed joy spreading. Tuna looked at Alex and smiled. "Thank you." Alex nodded once, and inside him a long empty space began to fill with ordinary things. A morning walk, a shared purchase, a baby's laugh. By the time they headed home, the sun had climbed higher. The bag felt heavier, but the air between them felt lighter. Alex pushed the stroller slowly, not from fatigue, but from a quiet reluctance to let the moment end. Tuna walked beside him, her hand brushing the stroller and, sometimes, his forearm. Each small touch felt like proof that this day was real. When they reached the garden gate, Henry squealed as the wheels rolled over the last pebble. Alex glanced down at him and felt a simple thought settle in, steady as breath. This is where I belong. Tuna opened the gate and held it while Alex guided the stroller through, careful over the uneven ground. The garden smelled like sun-warmed wood and damp soil, and Henry kicked his feet as if he could feel the celebration coming. Inside, Tuna set the canvas bag on the table and began sorting their purchases with quick, familiar hands. Alex hovered for a second, then reached in without being asked, lifting the chicken gently, checking the pork package, making space on the shelf. It wasn't perfect, but it was effort, and effort was a language Henry already understood. The baby babbled at them happily, insistent, and Alex answered with a quiet laugh he didn't try to hide. Tuna moved through the kitchen like she'd been saving this energy for Henry's day. She set the chicken and pork on the worn table, lined up the vegetables, and tied her hair back with a quick motion that meant we're doing this now. Alex rolled the stroller into the corner where the light was softest, then lifted Henry out with careful hands. Henry kicked once, then settled, eyes bright. Alex placed him in the high chair and adjusted the straps the way Tuna had shown him, tugging twice to be sure. Henry clapped as if the chair itself was part of the celebration. The sound made Tuna smile. She turned on the gas stove. The blue flame hissed to life. She rinsed the chicken, patted it dry, and began seasoning with motions that were familiar, yet lighter than usual. Today, the same tasks carried a different meaning. She wasn't cooking to survive the day. She was cooking to mark it. Alex hovered, then asked quietly, "What can I do?" The question landed in the room like warmth. Tuna looked up, surprised for half a beat, then softened. "Wash the greens," she said, then chop the shallots. Alex nodded like he'd been given a mission. Cool water ran over his hands as he rinsed the greens carefully, checking each leaf. The shallots were small and slippery, and he sliced them slowly, deliberately, as if the wrong cut could break the rhythm. His eyes watered. He blinked fast and pretended it didn't sting. Tuna glanced over and saw his focus. Sweat beaded faintly on his forehead from the stove heat, but he didn't complain. He didn't drift into his phone. He stayed present. It hit her quietly. This wasn't Alex, the CEO, squeezing life between meetings. This was a man learning to share the smallest tasks without needing praise. The scent of shallots filled the kitchen, sweet and sharp. Garlic followed, then ginger, then the rich smell of meat meeting heat. Henry laughed whenever Tuna held a sprig of herbs near his nose. He scrunched his face, then giggled, delighted by his own reaction. Alex reached for the pot at the same time Tuna did. Their hands brushed. Both paused just long enough for their eyes to meet. It was only a second, but in that second, something passed between them, an understanding built from worry, effort, return, and hope. Then they continued, like the bond had become part of the routine. Tuna began frying the chicken. The crackle filled the room with the sound of something good happening. Alex stirred the pot of pork, watching the sauce thicken. Henry squealed at the popping oil, then clapped again like he was cheering them on. While the food simmered, Tuna slipped out and came back with a small cake from the nearby shop. It was modest, no fancy decorations, just a simple layer with a tiny candle and happy birthday on top. Alex stared at it, surprised by how much his throat tightened. "A cake?" he asked softly. "Just something small," Tuna said, slightly embarrassed. "So Henry has a day, even if he won't remember." Alex looked at Henry, then at the cake. "He'll feel it," he said, "even if he doesn't remember the details." Tuna turned back to the stove, blinking hard. Afternoon light shifted from bright gold to softer orange, and the kitchen became a warm pocket of life. When the food was ready, Tuna set the table simply. Golden fried chicken, fragrant braised pork, bright green vegetables, and the cake waiting to the side. Late light poured through the window and draped everything in soft amber. Tuna sat on one side. Alex sat across, then shifted his chair closer, as if distance didn't feel right today. Henry sat in the middle, bouncing with excitement he didn't understand. Tuna cut a tiny piece of chicken and offered it to Henry. He opened wide, grinning, chewed clumsily, then laughed, proud of himself. Alex watched with chopsticks, paused midair. He never imagined himself here, at a small birthday meal with no crowd, no fireworks. Yet it felt utterly right, like his life finally made sense. Alex picked up a piece of pork and placed it in Tuna's bowl. "Eat more," he said, low and gentle. Tuna looked up, startled by the tenderness, and their eyes held each other. Gratitude sat there, and something deeper that didn't need a name. Henry laughed again as Tuna fed him another bite. The clink of spoon against bowl, the soft sounds of chewing, the warm hum of home braided into simple music. Alex felt his chest lighten. The burdens from work, from his separate life, dissolved piece by piece in the face of something ordinary. Tuna watched him and saw a genuine smile on his lips, unforced, real. The smile of a man who had found where he belonged. Henry clapped and scattered a few grains of rice across the table. Tuna froze by instinct, ready to apologize, ready to clean. But Alex laughed quiet at first, then real. Tuna blinked, then laughed too. Henry laughed harder, delighted that his mess had become a game. That sound, three voices laughing in the same room, felt like the real birthday gift. When it was time for the cake, Tuna set it in front of Henry and lit the candle. The flame flickered, a small bright point in the warm room. Henry stared at it, fascinated, then reached out as if he wanted to grab the light. "Careful," Tuna whispered, smiling as she guided his hand away. Alex leaned in and said softly, "Happy birthday, Henry." Tuna echoed it, and together their voices sounded like a blessing. Henry squealed, not because he understood birthdays, but because he felt the attention and warmth. Tuna blew out the candle. Smoke curled upward like a tiny wish. Twilight descended slowly. Outside, the garden darkened. Leaves became silhouettes. The table held remnants, half-eaten dishes, crumbs of cake, the faint scent of extinguished candle. Tuna leaned back, cradling Henry. He yawned long and deep, cheeks flushed, eyes drooping. His head sank against her shoulder like he was sinking into safety. Alex sat across with his hands resting lightly on the table. He watched mother and child as if he was trying to memorize this scene for a day when life would feel hard again. The silence wasn't empty. It was the stillness that comes after something complete. Tuna lifted her gaze and met Alex's. Alex wasn't smiling now, but his eyes held a peace she hadn't seen before. "Today was beautiful," he said. Tuna nodded, lips pressed tight to hold back what rose in her chest. This day had no crowd, no fireworks, only 3 people, a simple meal, and moments so real they ached. Alex looked down at his hands, still smelling faintly of shallots and soap, and realized he hadn't checked his phone in hours. The thought should have scared him. Instead, it felt like freedom. He breathed in, listened to Henry's sleepy sigh, and let the quiet win for once. Alex cleared plates with deliberate slowness, as if moving carefully could stretch time. When he returned, Tuna was already carrying Henry inside. Alex followed to the doorway, then stopped on the porch and watched their shadows disappear behind the door. Night fell fully. Stars were faint but present. The air cooled. The garden, now dark, seemed to hold the afterglow of the day in its leaves. Alex drew a deep breath and felt himself changed, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly and surely. Henry's birthday ended, but its warmth remained, clinging like the last light that refuses to leave the sky. In a peaceful morning garden, Tuna tells Alex that today is baby Henry's birthday, and the news quietly shifts Alex from his CEO mindset into full presence as a father. They decide to go to the village market for fresh chicken and pork to make a small celebration. Alex pushes the stroller while Tuna stays close, and Henry giggles along the misty bamboo path, binding them with a warm, wordless closeness. At the market, Tuna chooses ingredients. Alex participates in the smallest decisions, and Henry's laughter brightens the crowd. Back home, they cook together, washing greens, slicing shallots, frying chicken, and simmering pork, while Henry claps and squeals nearby. Tuna brings a modest cake, and Alex is unexpectedly moved by its meaning. They share an unhurried meal, laugh at Henry's rice mess, and softly wish him happy birthday. As twilight falls, Alex admits the day was beautiful, feeling quietly changed by ordinary family joy.